Hello, this is the video about translation technique part 1. There will be 18 techniques in translation, so I will divide those 18 techniques into two parts. So this part will talk about the translation techniques from number 1 until number 9. Alright, let's start now. Translation technique is the way used to transfer messages from the source language into the target language. They are applied at the level of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. These translation techniques are according to Molina and Albir. Actually, there are 18 types of translation technique, but in this video, you are going to learn about the 9 techniques. The first technique of translation is adaptation. Adaptation replaces the cultural elements of a type in the source language with the cultural elements that exist within the target language. This technique can be used if the elements or elements of those cultures have equivalents in the target language. So you don't try to translate the source language into the target language literally here, but you need to adapt into the equivalent adaptation which exists in the target language. For example, if you have the word or the expression "Dear Sir," so you don't translate that like "Ya Tuan" atau "Tuanku" atau Tuan Yang Mulia because you have Sir here, but you need to adapt that into the way how people in the target language use this expression. Yeah, this expression usually appear in formal letters. Yeah, in the formal letters, sometimes people in the target language or in Bahasa Indonesia use yang terhormat. Ya, yang terhormat di sini to start a letter, a formal letter. The second one is amplification or addition. Addition adds information that basically doesn't exist in the source sentence. The presence of additional information in the target sentence is intended to further clarify the concept conveyed the original authors to the readers. This technique is only the information that is used to assist the delivering message to the readers. These additions may not modify messages in the source of language. Okay, so additional information here do not mean to beautify or maybe to even to omit some information, but it is merely needed because it is some translation doesn't exist in the source sentence. Okay, for example, there were 4 little rabbits. If you translate this literally, perhaps you will just say, ada 4 ekor kelinci kecil. Yeah, but to make that more acceptable in short story translation, then you need to add some informations like hiduplah 4 ekor anak kelinci. Yeah, little rabbits is translated into anak kelinci. Yeah, because of the context. Yeah, you know the context of the story, of the short story that you try to translate. Next, technique number 3 is borrowing. Borrowing using words or phrases when translates the source language into the target language. Borrowing can be a pure borrowing without making any changes. For example, the word setting. Yeah, we use the word setting, for example, in abstract translation. For example, when you translate the research procedure, yeah, setting is translated into setting itself. Pure translation, pure borrowing, sorry, I mean, pure borrowing. Or in the form of a natural borrowing, naturalized. So it is using the source language, but then it is naturalized in the target language. For example, by changing the spelling of the target language. For example, the word panic, yeah, which comes from the word panic. Then in Bahasa Indonesia, sometimes we use the same word, panik, but with ke, yeah, not C here. That is the kind of naturalized borrowing. Other example can also be seen in design. Yeah, design. Here it is a naturalized borrowing. Yeah, natural borrowing in which we try to naturalize the word design in Bahasa Indonesia with the spelling. Next, the fourth translation technique is calque. Calque technique is a literal translation of a word or phrase in translating the source language into the target language. This is very common, I guess, for everyone to do the translation. Yeah, because some sentences in a story or in an article that you translate um, don't really depend on the context. So you just need to do the kind of literal translation or call here. For example, he bought 2 apples and 2 oranges. Yeah, without any contextual influence, here you can translate that literally. Dia membeli 2 apel dan 2 jeruk. Ya, atau kalau mau dibuat um, lebih berterima lagi, mungkin bisa digunakan like dia membeli 2 buah apel dan 2 buah jeruk. Seperti itu. The fifth translation technique is compensation. Compensation replaces the item, information, or position effects in the source language in other parts of the target language because it cannot be realized in the same section in the SL. Here we can see different terms, yeah, or different expressions used in the source language and the target language habits or maybe culture, yeah. For example, in the source language you want to say trousers, yeah, a pair of trousers, ya, tidak boleh hanya menyebut trousers saja, ya, a pair of trousers untuk kaki kiri and untuk kaki kanan. But in Indonesia, in the target language, tidak perlu mengucapkan a pair of-nya, tidak perlu diterjemahkan. You don't have to translate that like sepasang celana. No, ya, karena sepasang itu nanti have different implication in bahasa Indonesia, right? Sepasang itu means atasan dan bawahan, ya, baju dan celananya. Ya, while here yang dimaksud a pair of trousers itu hanyalah celana panjang misalnya. Seperti itu, dan it has been compensated, yang kiri dan yang kanannya, ya, sudah dicompensated itu yang kiri dan kanannya. Kalau kita berkata celana in bahasa Indonesia itu sudah untuk kaki kanan dan kaki kiri, so we don't have to translate a pair-nya lagi, ya, karena itu sudah dikompensate dalam ini celana. Contoh lain lagi misalnya seperti mencuci piring, ya. Kalau in the English language we can say do the dishes misalnya, ya, do the dishes itu sudah termasuk semuanya, cuci piring, sendok, cangkir, gelas, mangkok and so on, ya. So itu yang dimaksud dengan compensation. We don't have to translate every single thing, ya, because it has been compensated in a certain term. Next, number 6, the sixth translation technique is description. Description replaces the term in the source language with the description in the target language. This technique is used when a term in the source language does not have a term in the target language. For example, gado-gado. Yeah, gado-gado is not available in English-speaking countries. So when you want to translate mereka memberiku gado-gado, then you can say they gave me gado-gado, and then you add the description to gado-gado. Vegetables with peanut sauce. Description is always mostly known as footnote juga ya, bisa disebut juga dengan footnote descriptions ini. You use that if you cannot find any term to translate the term in the source language. Yeah. Next, number 7, discursive creation. Discursive creation uses of equivalent translation techniques while away from their original context. These techniques often appear in the translation of titles of movies, books, and novels. Yeah, so for example, the title of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Yeah, how you translate this? Of course, you cannot translate that literally, yeah, because you need to have the kind of creation to make the translation sounds like a title too. For example, yeah, so you translate the tale of Peter Rabbit like Kisah si kelinci Peter. Yeah, the tale, kisah there. And then you add si kelinci Peter because you know the use of si, the function of using si in the target language. Yeah. Or maybe when you translate the dancers, yeah, sang penari. Yeah, you have to know the art, yeah, of translating titles too. Yeah. All right, the eighth translation technique is established equivalence. Yeah, established equivalence translate terms in the source language term that is already prevalent in the target language. The term in the source language is generally based on a dictionary or phrase daily. Yeah, if it is not available in dictionary, sometimes you can find it on journals, for example. Yeah, if you translate a certain field of study, you have to check for some terminologies. Yeah, some terminologies has been determined. Yeah, they have already what is it? Determine the equivalent for certain terminologies. So if you have to work for a formal, for example, formal writings, for example, articles, journals, or maybe abstracts, yeah, for your thesis, then you have to pay attention to several terminologies. Yeah, if you want to find out the terminologies, the correct terminologies, then you have to use some references like similar journals, yeah, or the journals in that kind of field of study. For example, if you want to translate um, sincerely yours, ya, ya, oke. Di sini sudah ada terjemahannya, hormat kami. Ya, karena memang that's how the people write the formal letters. Ya, and then also senior high school. Nah, senior high school tidak bisa diterjemahkan sekolah senior atas. Ya, meskipun senior juga ada dalam bahasa Indonesia, tapi termnya ini adalah terminologi untuk the level of education, SMA. Yeah. So in other cases also when you translate a journal in education, for example, ada istilah-istilah di dalamnya, silakan teman-teman refer to other journals yang juga ada di dalam education journal. Ya, misalnya dalam jurnal linguistik pakai cari term yang sesuai dalam jurnal linguistik juga. Okay, or maybe if you translate a journal in health, for example, medical issues, then you need to read other journals too in medical or health issue. supaya teman-teman bisa menangkap terminologies or established equivalents di established equivalents, ya, supaya tidak perlu menerjemahkan secara harafiah jika sudah ada established equivalents-nya. Ya, seperti itu juga sebenarnya if you translate fictions, ya. Alright, now the last translation technique, part 1. The ninth one is generalization. Generalization translates a term with the term that is already well known in public and known to the wider community. This technique is used when a term in the source language refers to a specific section, which parallels in the target language that does not exist and refers to the same section. Yeah, for example here bajai. Bajai is just translated into vehicle aja. Yeah, because there is no term in the target language yang mendeskripsikan bajai. Okay. Also when we have rice, ya, rice in bahasa Indonesia, ya, itu bisa diterjemahkan macam-macam. In bahasa Indonesia punya banyak terminologi, ya, bukan hanya rice, ya, tetapi rice itu bisa berarti nasi, ya, bisa juga lontong, bisa juga beras. Semuanya ini kan kalau diterjemahkan into English jatuhnya rice, ya, tetapi in Indonesia it is more specific. So when you translate that into English, then you can do this strategy or this technique, that is generalization. Alright, so these are all the translation techniques part 1. There are 9 translation techniques explained in this video. Thank you for watching and learning from this video. And please continue to the next part of translation techniques, part 2 on the other video.